Does Tom Aspinall deserve better? And is Belal Muhammed versus Leon Edwards going to be the shittest fight of the year? Before we get into that, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So, Mark, with such a dry spell in the UFC at the moment, are you really looking forward to UFC 304?
Absolutely. This is how you're supposed to feel with events where it feels like a main event rather than just churning out any kind of main event in the apex week by week. This is what it's meant to be. What we've discussed many a time before. This feels like a pay-per-view because it is a pay-per-view. It's a big deal to us as fans. It's a big deal to the UK.
Yeah, it really is. It's a massive deal for the UK. But the big problem is, I don't think the UFC cares about the UK fans because the main event is going to be at 5 a.m. in the morning. That is ridiculous, right? Local time.
I honestly thought that there were going to be quite a lot of backlash about that, so they'd have to change it. We've
Mm,
said about this before when people like Tom Aspinall, Leon Edwards, the rest of the British fighters, even Paddy Pimblett, when they were nobodies or they were going through the rankings, they just sort of give us that card at local time, 8 p.m. sort of
mm.
thing. And you go, well, that's fair enough. But now they are champions and they are defending their belts. It's like they go, no, it's not good enough then. It's going back to the American old ways. It's just a kick in the teeth, and I can't see it any other way.
Yeah, it is a kick in the teeth, isn't it? And it shows how much the UFC is dependent on that North American market. And last year when we were getting all the international cards, they were on completely different times and it was fantastic. But they're doing the same for UFC 306 in Australia as well. That main card that's at 8 o'clock in the morning local time. Imagine, right, all these Aussie fans going out there and at 8 o'clock in the morning they can't drink their crappy lager. Do you know what I mean? They don't actually drink Fosters out there though, do they? I think it's just a bit of
No,
a
but
bit
no,
of
no, they
a
don't. But they absolutely will. They'll just be sat there, with the VB beer.
yeah.
But that they will be drinking. Don't worry about that, Dwayne. But it is just a poor
Oh,
time.
good. We're good. But it's disgusting, isn't it? It's genuinely disgusting. But I guess if that's where the money is, right? Because I guess the pay-per-views were not selling well last year, the international ones. So they've gone, look, the American audience are interested, so we're going to have to accommodate them. And it's such a shame because, I love when the card's on earlier rather than waking up at the crack of dawn. But, it is what it is, isn't it? But
Yeah.
who I feel really sorry for is the UK fans who are going to be watching it live. Imagine, Mark, 5 o'clock in the morning, you just want to go to bed, and Leon Edwards and Belal Muhammed put on a 5 round snooze fest. That's better than listening to an audiobook before bed, isn't it? You're going straight to sleep. That is a joke.
I think that fight's going to be uploaded just as an ASMR, just to get you to get you to sleep. Seriously though, for that to be the main event, you, he's the champion and he's defended. You can't argue against that. But no one's asked for this rematch, have they? Let's face it. It's just the way that they've both fallen. Bilal Muhammad, as much as it pains me to say, he does deserve it.
Yeah.
Leon Edwards, Mr. Charisma himself, he has got to be defended. I'd like to see him get a little bit more active though. He needs to be in order to get that fan base behind him. It seems like he's got to the top of the mountain, got the absolute rocky moment, knocking out Kamaru Usman. We
Mm.
had the corner speech, the post-fight interview, everything. It was fantastic. And now he's just pacing. It seems that way anyway. Don't forget, we had a very lackluster fight with Colby Covington. That was Colby's fault. I blame him for that as well. But Leon didn't exactly show up either.
Yeah, it takes two to tango, doesn't it? And it takes two to fight. And I feel like, yeah, Leon got the win there, but if he'd have put the gas on, I think he could have maybe got a finish or got the win even more decisively. And to be honest, I think if Colby put the gas on, he could have won that fight as well. It feels such a very slow-paced division at the moment, especially at the top. I don't know what's going on with it. And it is such a shame that Leon Edwards is not more active. Like you were saying before, he had that amazing Rocky moment, and it was a moment that went viral, and he could have got so many fans from that. That was literally lightning in a bottle, and he pissed it away. He had a fantastic promo, all great. And then afterwards, he just sank away into nothing. And it's such a shame because I want to be a big Leon Edwards fan. I really, really do. But he's just too boring, isn't he? It's like take UFC 303, right? With that main event, Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prohashka, you were a guaranteed finish. With this fight at UFC 304, it's a guaranteed decision, isn't it? Coming in this, it's going to be boring.
Well, the UFC and fans fans themselves have actually moved on from the bloodthirsty side of the sport. But
Not me.
yeah, yeah, you still want Tank Abbott just wailing some poor plumber. But fans also, they don't like predictability.
Yeah.
You like just to see it not coming out of anywhere, like Leon did that one time. But
Yeah,
since then,
exactly, right. And
and
that's
that
the
as the
thing.
main event is the champion. We should be behind him. We should be on the wind underneath his wings, to be cheesy about it. But it's just he don't bring anything to the table to get you excited. It'd be a lot better if the co-main and the main event were switched.
Yeah, 100%. Because with Tom Aspinall, the UK fans are really behind Tom. And and what's interesting is Tom's not particularly the king of charisma either, but he puts on exciting fights. You know, I think he's got the shortest time in the octagon of any current fighter. Do you know what I mean? In the average, so you think, he's getting these finishes, he's getting these exciting matches out there. And with Leon, I love watching technical masterclasses. I really do. But I feel like this is going to be a really grindy, slow, boring fight, right?
It's got to be though, hasn't it? Bilal's in there. It's going to be like a lay and pray. Leon, I think it's just going to be 5 rounds of testing the waters. It's going to
Yeah.
be Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza.
Oh
I
God.
believe so anyway. And they're going to be, I think that they're going to be too scared to make the first move because they know what the other one possesses. I think it's going to be a bit of a snooze fest. Man, I can't believe that's on at 5 in the morning. If you struggle sleeping, watch this fight.
Oh no, God. I feel sorry for us if we're going to be live streaming. Gosh, you'll literally see me pass out at 5 o'clock in the morning. But, you know, thing is though, Leon's the champion. He's got to defend the belt. But hopefully next, if he gets through through Belal, should I say, he can get some good, interesting fights. And who do you think he should fight next if he gets through Belal?
Honestly, Shavkat Rakhmonov. I've seen enough so far. I don't care if he's jumping the line a little bit. Shavkat Rakhmonov is exciting. He's strong, fast, powerful, gets submissions, gets knockouts. He brings it every single time that he comes into the octagon. I think he's done enough. Let's see what he can do. Put him up against the champion and let's see if he can come out victorious.
Yeah, I think that's a great fight. I think it'd be a perfect option because, with Shavkat, he is exciting. And I know you said jump in the line, but I don't think there is a line. Do you know what I mean? It really feels like there's not any top contenders. It really feels like with this division, I think the big problem when you've had such a dominant champion like Usman before you, it kind of clears that division out, doesn't it? It makes it feel empty. It's like, oh well, does this guy deserve a title? Well, he did lost to so and so, and then it feels less important, does it? It doesn't feel like these guys deserve title shots. And you've got people like JDM and even Ian Gary, all sort of snapping at the heels now. And I could see any of these guys getting a title shot soon. But someone who seems really keen to move up to 170 and become a double champion is Islam Makachev. Mark, are you interested in seeing Islam versus Leon Edwards?
I am, but not right now. I think he needs to get a couple more defenses in the bag at lightweight. Then after that, come up and challenge Leon. Hey, it might even be Islam versus Belal. We
Oh,
never know. Has that thought crossed your mind before?
God, that would be
It
terrible.
could well happen. But Islam, he does have the tools in order to do it. And I don't think he's going to wait around for a new challenge at lightweight. We've mentioned before, it already feels like Islam's cleaned out the division, even though he definitely hasn't.
Yeah.
The lightweight has the same problem as welterweight. They've all lost to each other, and it just feels like Islam and Leon in this case, they've just about come out on top. So you think, who's a real challenge? Put them against each other. It does make sense, but you've just killed one of your champions there.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the big problem with double champions, isn't it? Because if Islam puts the weight on and he moves up to 170 permanently, he's not going to be able to move back down to 155, I don't think. And that's the huge problem across the board with double champions. I don't think any of them have gone back down, have they, once they've got that belt? So you basically kill a division instantly. Well, apart from Amanda Nunes, but she's a freak of nature, isn't she? And we all know that sort of female featherweight division's just a nothing division. It's literally, I don't even think it exists anymore, does it?
Yeah, I think it's just part of a CrossFit class. You just like once every 6 months or something, you have to go and fight in the UFC. I shouldn't say that.
It does feel like that, though, doesn't it? But then, Mark, let's move on very quickly then. So, in the heavyweight division, Tom Aspinall is defending the interim title against Curtis Blades. But do you think he should have to be defending that title at all?
No, Absolutely not. I think it's a bit of a joke. I think you've already defeated the whole purpose of an interim belt now by having him defend it when the champion is supposed to be active now, or just regardless of injuries. You've now created an intercontinental belt. You've created a B-list title that can get passed around. It's not the BMF. It's the interim championship. The whole point of it is that you're meant to fight the champion next. I think it's a bit of a joke. It's a fight that everyone's going to turn up for because this is the loss that Tom Aspinall needs to claim back, even though we know it was an injury, etc. It's an interesting fight, but for the interim title, come on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And I completely get John Jones is injured. I totally get that. It makes sense. Fine. He cannot fight. He physically cannot do it. Completely understand. But then strip him or set up that fight for when he comes back, because John Jones is proving to me that he's a coward. He is terrified of losing to Tom Aspinall. He wants to fight an old fireman like Stipe, and he wants to beat up a light heavyweight in Alex Pereira. It's a joke. It's absolutely ridiculous. He needs to be fighting the interim champion, and Tom Aspinall deserves it. Tom Aspinall saved that card when John Jones pulled out with his injury. He deserves it. He won the title off 2 weeks' notice, man. And he didn't even get to train that 2 weeks. He damaged his back literally the day he started training, and he couldn't do it for 2 weeks. He deserves everything now. Is it a bit obvious that I'm a massive fanboy of Tom, you know?
I think so, yeah. It's a shame he weren't running in the general election because he would have become out on top, wouldn't he? He'd be living
Yeah.
at number 10 now. But no, Tom, like honestly, like you said then, he deserves it. He's done everything right so far. And now he's just being the ultimate company man. I'm sure Dana White and Hunter, they'll love him, surely. Because he was ridiculously humble up until he beat Sergey. And this isn't a bad thing. This isn't a knock at him at all. This is what he needs to be, chomping at the bit. Let's go find John Jones. When he beat Marcin Tybura, do you remember in the post-fight interviews, he said, John Jones knows I exist. And now he's wanting his idol to be his rival. And that's what should be happening. Look, if I know John is close to the end of his career, but nothing, that don't mean anything. If you are the champion, you should need to be fighting the best. You don't get easier fights just because you are an aged fighter. That's not how it goes. You've got to be fighting the best. And Tom Aspinall is the absolute best this division could produce for him now.
Yeah, 100%. Tom Aspinall versus John Jones is literally the biggest fight the UFC can make. I think it makes great numbers. It's a fight that a lot of people want to see, and it's an interesting fight as well. I think it's going to be a real sort of physical versus technical masterclass, and experience versus that physical strength that Tom has. I think it's a really, really exciting fight, and I think, though, unfortunately, it seems like it's never going to happen, right? Do you think John Jones is ever going to fight Tom Aspinall?
No, I think it's absolutely just going to be John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. I think he's going to forget all about Tom, and it's just going to be one of those fights that could have happened, but sadly it didn't.
Yeah.
Injuries, you get it, but at the same time, you've got to look now, and even the biggest John Jones fan can't claim that he's doing the most challenging path by defeating Stipe. Stipe's last win was what, 4 years ago? And the last fight was 3 years ago. John Jones is coming up, what, 18 months since his last fight or something? It's now you're looking at the inactivity era and hoping for that GOAT status afterwards. You just can't do both at the same time. It doesn't work like that. You got Tom is young, hungry, he needs that title. He's proved everything so far. Go and fight him. John Jones, like I will just say, John Jones has got nothing else to prove. If he did this and he beat Tom, you can go off into the sunset. And I will say that you are the greatest. He's already one of them, but he is the greatest. If you can get through Tom Aspinall, I think so.
And that's all he wants. He wants the validation of Mark from Northernlights. That's all John Jones needs. But I'm in total agreement with you. If he can go out and knock out a top guy like Tom Aspinall, someone who's technically capable, physically strong, a true heavyweight, and get him out of there, well, there's no argument, is it, that John Jones is the greatest of all time. But if he goes up and beats up an old man like Stipe, who cares? It means nothing. And I get it. I understand with Stipe, you don't want to disrespect him. I get it. He's a veteran of the sport. He's a former champion. And of course, he deserves something big. I'm not saying that he should just go away and never be seen again. But if John Jones is not ready to fight, then we need to have Aspinall versus Stipe. Then that's the fight that should be happening, not Aspinall versus Blades. And I think at least then you get some clarity in it. Like, okay, if Stipe beats Tom, then great, fantastic. Yeah, go fight John Jones. And if Aspinall beats Stipe, we knew what would have happened anyway. So it's win-win for everyone. So I don't get why they're not doing it, but it is what it is, isn't it? And
Yeah,
then Mark,
it's a big pain. Well, we've spoke about it too much enough, and it's a heartbreaking situation. We'll just move on. When John Jones wants to come back, he'll come back. Sadly, that's just the way it is, and maybe he's just got Dana by the short and curlies. Who knows?
yeah, he really, really does, doesn't he? But now we move on to Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green. Or now King Green, apparently. He's changed his name by Deepole, which is pretty cringe. But do you think this is the right fight for both guys?
God, he's a isn't he? I do actually think I do think this is a perfect fight for both. This is Paddy breaking into the top 15 now.
Yeah.
He's done it. He's paid his dues now fighting unranked fighters. He had the little blip with Jared Gordon. Now he's come back, beat Tony Ferguson. This is a great fight for both fighters. Now, regardless of Bobby's age, I refuse to call him king. You just can't do it. If he can knock Paddy off, he's just destroyed a young prospect. If Paddy can knock him off, now you've broke into the top 15. Now you're on the path towards the title. It was a long road, but you're there. Because let's face it, Green ain't going to get a title shot anytime soon. So it ain't going to do him much favours if he defeats Paddy, but it will do Paddy favours if he can get Green out of there.
And the thing is, yeah, it won't do King Green a lot of favors, but it'll at least give him that fan base who wants to see Paddy get knocked out, right? It'll get him a few more fans. People will tune in to see him, and he gets that little bit of name value and a bit of name rub because there's no denying whether you like Paddy or not, he's got name value, hasn't he? He's a famous sportsman across the world now. There's no doubt about that. But like you were saying before, this is Paddy's chance to break into that top 15. If he does beat Bobby Green, where does he go from there? Who does he fight next?
You know, a fight I'd actually love to see Paddy Pimblett do is Beneil Dariush. This
Mm.
is his Sean O'Malley versus Piotr Jan moment where you think, oh, that's a step up in competition. But I
Mm.
think he's young still, but I think this is the step up that he could absolutely do. Beneil Dariush is on a 2-fight losing skid at the moment. He's a big name. A lot of people had him in contest for the title. If Paddy could give him even a good fight, he doesn't even have to win. If he can give Beneil Dariush a great fight, he would cement his name up there as a well-known worldwide, even more so than he already is, but pushing towards that title shot, not just for being the guy who has the stupid haircut and the silly Scouse accent. This is him like pushing towards a title shot to be known as, look, I'm one of the best in the world. I'm here to stay. Like I said, he doesn't even have to win. He just has to have a good fight with him. I thought that was a perfect fight. Is there anyone in your mind who you'd think like to see Paddy fight if he does get Green out of there?
I'm not sure. I do really like your option of him going up and fighting Dariush, but I just wonder, is it too much of a step too soon? Is that too high level opponent, and is that what Paddy's looking for, or they still wanted to do that slow rise? And I think what would be a good option for Paddy, because he seems to be on now this sort of Randy Orton run, this legend killer run, Max Holloway, Bobby Green, and I think a good person next who fits that bill as well is Rafael dos Anjos. He's ranked 14th within the division, I think. So that'd be a fun fight for both guys. A fight that I think Paddy could probably win, and it's a big name, a big star within the UFC. He's got a lot of name value, a former champion, and I think that can propel Paddy up towards that top 10 without pushing him too far too quickly. But again, though, I think that fight with Beneil would still be really good as well, and that's a really good right. Where is this guy in the lightweight division? Is he this top contender, or is he just this, shaggy haired scouse guy, like you were saying?
It's a perfect test, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you got if you can hang with these kind of guys, then you prove yourself. Yeah, absolutely. Paddy doesn't have anything to prove. I think his resume does speak for itself. You can see a little bit of youth, I'd say. I wouldn't even say inexperience. I'd just say youth, especially
Mm.
when he first came into the UFC. He wanted that big knockout. He wanted that big star power, which he did get. But you remember he threw himself right under the guillotine, nearly got knocked out himself. Michael Bisping even made a comment. Paddy can deny it all he wants, but he is human. He does have a chin.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He'll come out and he puts himself at risk, and it is tricky, isn't it? When he steps up, is he going to be able to to live up to that competition, to live up to the name that he's now got. And to be honest, I don't think he can, but we'll have to wait and see how he comes back and how well he does as he moves up. And then, Matt, we've got Muhammad Mokaev versus Manel Cap. With the state of this division, do you think the winner of this gets to fight Pantoja next?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you just hover around in the flyweight division for long enough, you're going to get a title shot. You don't even have to win. If you're just there, it's like a participation prize, isn't it? The division was on fire in 2020 when we said, how on earth did they nearly scrap this division? Now the reasons are really visible. It just seems like whoever you are, you're probably going to get. Do you remember the last defense that Pantoja had against Urseg? Everyone said, why is he getting it now?
Yeah.
This is no different. Whoever wins this is probably next in line for a title shot. And that's just the way that flyweight division goes, unfortunately. Hopefully, they get some big names in there again coming up soon. And hopefully, we can actually see some good fights that we are all anticipating and all looking forward to. That's when you start matchmaking rather than just, oh, let me just check his Wikipedia page.
Yeah. And definitely, I think it's a great opportunity for both guys, but I'm not even sure if Cap's going to turn up. You know, he misses weight all the time. He pulls out of fights. So it's hard to even be invested in this fight because, I love seeing Mokaev fight, but with Cap, I'm just not interested in that guy at all. I just don't think he's going to fight. And then our boy Arnold Allen is fighting Giga Chikadzia, and Arnold is now on a losing streak, 2-fight losing streak to be exact. Do you think he needs to get this win?
He does, and I've got all the hope and faith in the world. I believe that he can do it. I won't ever bet against my boy Arnold Allen. Even when he fought Max Holloway, I still believe that he can do it, and it was a very close, very good fight. I think Arnold Allen is going to be able to get him out of their hometown crowd, loving every minute of it, cement his name, get back to where he belongs. That was just a small blip in the career of Arnold Allen, and he's going to get back there, and one day he could be champion. I honestly believe that.
I hope so. I really hope so because I would love to see Arnold Allen get to the top of that division and raise the belt above his head. I think he's a fantastic fighter, and I think this fight with Giga will get him back in that place that he needs to be within this division. He's had a couple of rough fights, but it's not like he got battered or dominated in either fight. He did really well in both of them. I think he had a bit of bad luck, but it's just the way it goes sometimes. It's the way the fight game goes. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him back. But I'm also looking forward to UFC 304. It's stacked from bottom to not exactly the top, maybe bottom to co-main event, but it's going to be a fun card. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.